in this room, and we're gonna get started with a very interesting topic, which is prompt engineering. And Silvio Ventre, who's the head of innovation at Euromobiliare Asset Management, as well as a startup mentor at Startup Jigs, will lead the workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I don't know if the audience is Italian or mixed audience, because if you want, we can switch in Italian. But I don't know. English is okay. Great. So just before start let's say the workshop itself, I would like to introduce also the technology. I don't know how much are you confident about the technology itself, so the generative AI, but it's very useful to know how basically it works, just because it's very complex and it's not so smart as you can think. Actually, it's quite dumb, let's say. So how does ChatGPT work? ChatGPT, generally speaking, so I'm referring in particular to all the large language models, not only ChatGPT, but it is the first one going live just 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. One of the main concepts that you have to consider is the autoregressive text generation. What does it mean? Autoregressive is one of the main characteristics of the LLMs on the web. Basically, the architecture behind all LLM is autoregressive, so it has the ability to compound a single sentence word after word, doing autoregression, so going back to the first word, analyze what is the best word, the most efficient word going after the first word. And this is like a loop, a continuous loop, once the sentence is complete. So basically, the model calculates the probability of every single word, word after words. So the model itself doesn't know anything about the words that is writing, right? And that's one of the most important things to know of the LLMs, just because they don't know anything about their writing. The other concept really important about the LLMs is the power of attention mechanism. Behind the architecture, there are a lot of neural networks that have the ability to focus attention on the most important word in a sentence, so that the attention mechanism allows the model to examine other positions in the text, identify the most important word, and process every kind of words to define the last prompt, the last sentence, only after that the attention is focused on the single term, the right term. That's very important because actually LLMs work exactly like the human brain. So when we talk with someone, we are going to focus on the most important concept, and we try to develop to give in output a sentence which is probabilistic, coherent with someone who you are speaking. So more or less, those are the main concepts behind the architecture. So attention and also the probabilistic way. LLMs doesn't know anything about you are talking about. They know everything, but you have to ask in a better way how to extrapolate the real value behind the question, behind the architecture. And the way you are going to have a real a real result, a real output, is the prompt. So what is a prompt? A prompt is just a request. It's just a request or a question formulated by a user. And since the moment the only way to talk with large language models is with natural language, during inside of the academic context, were born two aspects, two main topics: prompt engineering and prompt design. Prompt design is like the art of compose or formulating a great question, so a clear and effective question to the LLM, in order to generate accurate response. So basically, it's like the art of craft a real request, a great request in natural language. The prompt engineering, it's like the step on of the of crafting a good and effective request, using also the code. So basically in Python, which is a coding language, with prompt engineering, you can have a level up, let's say, of the results of the output that you can expect from a large language model. Now we are going to focus on prompt design, just because it's the most common way to talk with a large language model, and how we can craft an effective prompts in ChatGPT or in another large language model like Gemini or Perplexity or someone like the instruments, the tools that maybe you may are using right now. First of all, you have to be specific, very specific. So you have to clearly define what you want. That's because they don't know anything about what are you saying. So if the more you are specific, the more you will have an accurate response in output. Of course, you have to avoid vague instructions. The second is provide context. You have to define all the context useful for the model in order to generate an accurate response. Just because if you want to, for example, craft an email to someone who are trying to sell you a product, for example, they don't know what kind of product they are going to sell you, they want to sell you. They don't know, the large language model doesn't know what is the, let's say, the tone of the response that you want to craft. It's a simple email, but it's not so it's not so well to make a prompt like just craft an email to respond to this email. You have to define the context, you have to define the subject, you have to define a lot of data useful for the model in order to generate an effective email. That's a real use case, but going on, we're gonna see some examples, some specific example. Once you provide context, you have also to specify the format. Because if you want to obtain from the model, for example, a table, a spreadsheet, or an exact output, you have to define it. Just because the model doesn't know what you want at the end of the prompt. If you don't like the result, you just have to iterate. So one of the characteristics that we didn't talk about just before is that generative AI, it's a very interesting aspect of this technology because of the generative part. So once you ask something to a large language model, you'll never obtain the same result. Never. So in this room, we can make the same question and obtain like 20 or 15 results. Every result will be completely different. Not so much completely different. I mean, the formulation at the end of the prompt will be different, for sure. More or less, the meaning of the sentence will be more or less the same, because the prompt is equal for everyone. But it's important to understand that the generative part is very, how to say, it's one of the components that you don't have to ignore, because if you don't have the results that you expect, you just have to iterate. So change the prompt, I don't know, 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, whatever it takes to have the right results that you want to expect. In particular, I don't know if it's big enough to read something, but here are like 9 rules to write an effective prompt. So you have to start with action verb. Basically, you have to define as much as you can the request in a clearly way. So starts with action verb. Use clear, action-oriented words like create, write, or explain, define, or something like that. You have to add context, so relevant background, relevant information to the large language model in order to personalize the response. You have to be clear and specific, so you have to ensure what are the requests, so avoid vague answers. Use example, because examples help the model to understand what is the request, what is the output that you're going to have, you want to have, and also helps the model to understand what are you talking about. You have to specify the length. For example, for the example, what I was talking about, the email, just the email. If you want to craft an email of 100 words, for example, which is very long email, you have to define it. You'll never have something like 100 words email if you don't write it. So you have to do it. You have to guide the AI, just because they don't know. The LLMs don't know anything. You have to give explicit instruction in order to have the results that you want to have. You have to clarify in the tone. For example, if you want to argue with some vendors or with someone else, or if you want to craft a report for a general audience or a report for the C-level of your company or something like that. And then the experimentation part. So once you don't have the result that you want to expect, you just have to iterate. So continue to refine the prompt. So another really interesting thing to me about the large language model is that they are very similar to humans in general, but not smart humans. Completely dumb humans. Not only because you have to provide context, provide information, define the output that you want, just because they work exactly like the human brain. So basically, you have to talk with them using patterns. More or less, something that we do every time when we talk with a person. We do it implicitly. So with the AI model, we have to do it in an explicit way. there are a lot of patterns in order to talk in the right way with a model. One of them is decision pattern. They help you. They help you to make decision. I mean, in your work, in your daily routine, in every kind of task you are perform. So you can use it as a support tool, a decision support tool, on specific topics for define pros and cons, something like that. There's another one, data processing patterns. It's very useful for manipulation and interpretation of data. So, for example, if you have text documents or PDFs or spreadsheets, documents in general with data, you can process, analyze, and interpret data. Another one is data extraction. So for the same format, for example, you have spreadsheet, you have PDFs, you have every kind, even a JPEG, so images. You can extract information, basically just asking to the LLM. And another one is very interesting to me is the audience persona pattern, which it works also in two different ways. You can simulate a role, and you can make the LLM refers to you as a specific person, or refers to you as you are like an engineer or a marketing manager or someone you want to be, in order to have a response completely personalized, customized on what you are defining. Of course, you can combine every kind of patterns. Those are only 4 patterns. There are a lot of patterns behind the prompt design infrastructure, the prompt design topic. You can combine all of them in order to have an effective output. Okay. I don't know if you have laptops with you. I don't know if you have the free version of ChatGPT. It's perfect. Just because if we make it just a bit more interactive, it would be better in order to understand how to craft a prompt. It's a very, I mean, we are going into all the patterns that I explained just before. The first one is the audience persona pattern, which is one of the maybe most useful pattern that you can use in your daily routine, even at work, even at home. It depends for whatever you want. But the pattern format is very simple. You can make the LLM assume a specific role. So assume I am an engineer and I want you to perform a task. So basically, really 4 words to define this pattern. And the other way you can see this pattern is that you can make the LLM assume a specific role. So it's not you, the subject, but it's the LLM. So you can say, you are a software engineer, you are a marketing manager, you have to perform an action, whatever you want, a report or an analysis or something like that. In this prompt, of course, you can copy and paste these prompts, but it's just an example. So feel free to try another prompt similar in the structure. I'm going to read it. So in this prompt, you can say, I am a curious finance professional attending a business conference. I'm not a developer or a tech guy, but I'm intrigued by emerging technologies. 500 word article that explains what Web3 is, why it matters, and how it might reshape the internet experience. So going back on what I was about before, I said who I am. So a curious finance professional. I said also what I'm doing, just to provide a little more context. I also said what I'm not. So I'm not a developer. I don't know anything about coding or something like that. I'm not a tech guy. It's really important to the model in this prompt to understand that I know anything about coding, about technology in general. I work in finance, and I want to understand what is Web3. I want to understand what is Web3, technologically speaking, why it matters, and how it might reshape the internet experience in a small report, 500 words. In this prompt is completely different to another one. For example, what is Web3, which is a prompt, but it's a really small prompt without context, without the information about what you are, who you are, what you are looking for. So this pattern is going to have an output really effective instead of the simple question, what is Web3? I don't know if you tested something like this pattern. So assume I am someone. If you want to share, something, I can. I mean, if you want to explain the example, feel free to do it. I mean, I'm happy to make the interaction.
Thank you. My prompt was a little bit different than yours. Assume I'm a dev developer. I'm a professional visiting a tech conference focusing on crypto and blockchain. I'm a tech guy, a coder, not a salesperson. Provide me a short pitch why it matters to start coding in this area right now.
That's a great prompt. Also because I guess you had also an effective output. You can define also what is the format of the output. In our case, we said like 500 words. You can say also at the table that compare the, I don't know, some information. You can also stimulate the prompt, the LLM to go on the web to find some information. So basically, you can combine a lot of information, a lot of requests. The more you are specific, the more you have an accurate response. That's a great prompt. Thank you for sharing it. The second persona pattern that we're gonna see, this is a bit longer respect the other one. So maybe I don't know if we have time to read also this one. But anyway, the prompt is very similar. It's a role simulation. So in this case, you are telling the LLM that he is a specific role. So you are a Web3 marketing strategist advising a consumer brand entering the decentralized ecosystem. I provide a lot of context, and I said that he has to prepare a one-page executive brief outlining how a brand can use NFTs and token-based communities to increase customer engagement and brand loyalty. Then I defined also all the output. So bullet point, what is the focus that I want to have, but basically the pattern is the same. So you are going to interact with someone who has a role, a specific role. In this case, the LLM is gonna be a Web3 marketing strategy advisor. And he has specific skills, of course. It's very important because once you, whenever you are going to make the LLM assume a specific role, it's like he's gonna have all the skills that a real marketing manager, a real Web3 marketing strategist has in the real life. And of course, you can do it for whatever you want, whatever you want. So it depends by the use case. Now I'm talking about the Web3 marketing strategies. You can use it also at home. If you don't know what are you going to eat at lunch or at dinner. But I'm gonna skip this one just because you tested. I'd like to talk you about the decision pattern that I mentioned before. This is the help to understand pattern. It's very useful when you don't know something about a specific context, a specific topic. So you want to understand something, you have to take decision on something that you don't know. You can use ChatGPT or any kind of LLM to understand a specific topic. And you can use different patterns like the Pareto principle application. I don't know if you already know the Pareto principle, which is like a principle that identifies the 20%, the most important 20% of the knowledge of a specific topic that make you understand the 80% of the specific topic. That's really interesting as a pattern, as a principle, just because you can combine this pattern and the previous one. So you can ask the LLM to impersonize like the Web3 marketing advisor and make you understand what is an NFT from a marketing perspective using the Pareto principle. So you can ask, tell me all the information that make me understand the 80% of the specific topic, but the 20% of the information, of course. An example prompt is like break down corporate finance, if you want to know more about corporate finance, into small, easy to understand parts. Use real life analogies and examples to simplify the concept. This is a small prompt, but it's way better than say, just tell me something about corporate finance, which is good as well, because maybe you want to know only small topics about the corporate finance, but you want to have some examples or a breakdown structure of the topic. And another one is with the Pareto principle. So I want to learn about sustainable finance, but could be also Web3 or tokenization or real world asset, for example. Identify and share the most important 20% of the knowledge on this topic that will help me understand 80% of it. That's a great prompt. I mean, a great way to understand topics that you don't know and you are curious to know more. Another one is the data extraction pattern. This is useful for a lot of use cases. I use this one, for example, like 1 week ago, I had a small car accident last month. I have to define, for example, I have to craft an email to the insurance company, the counterparty. I have to extract some information from a picture. So it's not the example that I'm showing here. Of course, this is also something with an incident location. This is an example from Microsoft, but I used this example even in my life just 1 week ago, for example, to extract information from an image of my car that was, of course, damaged. And I had to do a specific report in order to have reimbursement from from the insurance company. But that's only a use case. You can use it, for example, at work. If you have a spreadsheet, you have to, I don't know, find some information in a very long PDF or very long massive spreadsheet. You can extract the following information from the spreadsheet that I attached here in the chat. Or, for example, in that case, from the phone conversation below. So you have a transcript of your phone conversation. You can extract reason for the call, cause of incident, names of all the drivers, if during the phone conversation are mentioned, something like that. You can also ensure the point, the output of the point. So for example, in this case, I ask the LM to ensure fields from 1 to 6 are answered very briefly. For example, just stating the location name for the incident location. So basically you have to define the output. You can define everything in the prompt, but if you don't do it, you won't have an effective output. Actually, I mean, the workshop, it's finished because I didn't want to make a lot of examples, passive examples. I'd like to understand also if you have question. I'm happy to, yeah, for sure.